learner-centered psychological principles. First, I will discuss the background of these principles. Psychology has provided vital information for the design of schooling based on theory and research on human learning, development, and motivation. The learner-centered psychological principles, which are consistent with more than a century of research on teaching and learning, are widely shared and implicitly recognized in many excellent programs found in today's school. We all know that this learner center was designed to psychologists to provide needs of our learners. This learner-centered was being applied in teaching for many years because of effective in learning process and already proven. Every principle it has goal to achieve, and if this goal was failed, our educator are redesign it. For example, if I am teaching in elementary grades and I see that my method of teaching doesn't work to my student, I can use the different method in teaching that are suitable to my learners. Now, let us proceed to the cognitive and metacognitive factors. The cognitive refers to the intelligence means to our learners, while metacognitive involves thinking about one's own cognitive process. It is essential for effective learning in complex situations. These factors shows how can affect the learning process. There are 14 principles of the learner-centered psychology. The number one is the nature of learning process. The learning of complex subject matter is most effective when it is an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experience. This nature of learning process talks about how students learned. Students can construct their own meaning through their experiences, their own thought and belief. Number two, the goals of the learning process. The successful learner over time and with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representation of knowledge. These principles talks about how students learn when they have a goal. It is important that the teacher set a goal or guide their students through that the students can work hard and motivate to learn. Number 3. Construction of knowledge. The successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. Construction of knowledge means that the student can broaden their knowledge if the old information that they have and add the new information that they learned. Number 4. Strategic thinking. The successful learning can create and use a repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve a complex learning goals. This strategic thinking all about how students can use their strategies and create a presentable idea. For example, in a role-playing activities, students come up with a good strategies to achieve their goals. In these activities, the teacher need to assess the learners to enhance and develop the learning strategies of the learners. Number 5. Thinking about thinking. Higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations facilitate creative and critical thinking. This principle, learner can reflect on how they think and learn. The learners know what to do if a problem occurs and the time is not sufficient to students. They can still achieve the goals. The teacher must develop their higher order thinking skills of students to be more responsible to their own learning. Number 6. The context of learning happens in different ways or different factors. Let us proceed to the motivational and effective factors. Number 7. The motivational and emotional influences on learning. What and how much is learned is influenced by the motivation. Motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional states, beliefs, interests, and goals, and habits of thinking. It states that how students motivate and influence to their learning. Furthermore, students can be more motivated, especially when they are familiar to the topics and activities engage their interest.
Intrinsic motivation to learn. The learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is simulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to personal interest and providing personal choice and control. In this principle, the creativity, the higher order thinking skills, and the natural curiosity of the student are all present. So it is very clear that intrinsic motivation to learn is all about how the student being motivated to learn. Because it is how he or she motivates herself or himself to learn about something or about that specific topic. Because this principle relevant to personal interest and providing personal choice and control. Effects of motivation and efforts. Acquisition of complex knowledge and skills requires extended learner's effort and guided practice. Without learner's motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. As a student, if you are motivated or interested about something, you will really exert an effort to learn more. You will exert an effort to make it perfect and to make it beautiful. Because if you are not willing to learn 100%, you will not exert an effort for it. You are motivated, you are willing, you are interested. That's why you are going to exert an effort for it. It is how motivations affect your efforts as a student in learning. Developmental influence on learning. As individuals develop, they encounter different opportunities and experience different constraints for learning. Learning is most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains is taken into account. Yes, not all students are the same. We have different kinds or different level of knowledge, different level of learnings, different experiences. That's why we as a teacher, we should consider or take into account all their differences and all their experiences. Because in that simple way, the students will learn easily. The next principle is the social influences on learning. Learning is influenced by social interactions, interpersonal relations, and communication with others. Yes, we are learning while we are communicating. We don't live alone. No man is an island. We communicate with our friends, with our loved ones, with our relatives and classmates. And while we are communicating with them, we are learning something from them, right? Not all the time, but sometimes we are learning something from them. That's how social influences learning. So the next is individual differences in learning. Learners have different strategies, approach, and capabilities for learning that are functions of a prior experience and heredity. Yes, we came from different cultures and we have different level of knowledge, level of learnings. That's why we as a teacher, we should consider or acknowledge all the differences of the students. Because not all students are good in math, not good in English. Maybe some of them are good in sports but not in music. That's why we need to use various strategies, various approaches for them to learn easily. And to be fair to our students. Second is learning and diversity. Learning is most effective when differences in learners' linguistic, cultural, and social background is taken into account. Again, not all students are all the same. They have different beliefs, linguistic, cultural, and social backgrounds. The best way to have an effective learning is to respect the differences of the students and look for a better strategies or approaches that is fit to them to make them learn and to make them interested about the topic and about the discussion. Because as what is stated, they have different cultural and social background, so they have different beliefs that we need to respect. And last but not the least is the standards and assessment. Setting appropriately high and challenging standards and assessing the learners and learning progress, including diagnostic process and outcome assessment, are integral part of the learning process. Yes, in every discussion, you should have to assess your students if they have learned something. The assessment will help you to measure the learnings of the students if they have learned something, if they really understand the topic or not. Standards and assessments are part of the learning process because it helps you as a teacher to measure if they have learned something new about this topic.